We have our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, we have a visitor to our meeting. So there's some housekeeping that we need to do first. One is Karen Freed and Ruth Marie. Our alternates will be sitting in as acting members tonight. And I'd like to make an amendment to our agenda to add Leah Ibarra to the agenda to present information about the elevator project. I need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? It'll be under old business. And she's going to be first on the list. And Jen, I thought you could talk under the comments from press, public, and board members. Section.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, Leah, you have the stage.
Okay, so as you ladies may or may not know, I'm with Stanley Elevator, and we're doing the elevator modernization at the Merrimack Public Library. We are very excited about getting this one done. I've spent a lot of extensive time doing research on these materials and making sure everything fits right. We're still in the engineering phase, but right now we're planning on starting in November, right around in the beginning. So I believe that we have that orchestrated pretty well with you at this time. If anything changes at all, we can, of course, adjust to your needs. It's not a problem at all. The elevator is going to be down only for about 4 weeks or so, and it should be a relatively smooth process. As part of what was sold to you, we do have an area called Work by Others that includes the electrical and any kind of plumbing that's needed as well. It seems pretty simple. So we'll be changing out like the disconnect, some of the piping in the machine room, make sure the fire alarm is connected and operating properly with the modules in the machine room. As far as what we are reviewing right now, these are just the major materials that have drawings, just with the particular dimensions and special items that you can choose and select and adjust. And we like to make sure that the customer knows what it is that they're ordering. It's part of a big ticket item that you're spending. So I just want to run those by you, make sure that it's approved and selected and everybody's happy. And if you need time to review it later time, that's quite all right. Not an issue at all. So the major components that we have with the drawings that I've included were the landing or the car door, the cab interior, and the signal fixtures. So as far as the initial car door, that's just the single door here. I don't know if you had received a PDF of that. That's relatively straightforward and simple. That's what you see when you're inside the elevator looking out. So it's just this nice, bright, shiny panel that's right there. So that'll match the return that you have, which we're going to buff up and clean and make look really nice and pretty. That's always, I just like to let people know that you can change that metal if you wanted to. You could turn it into a mirror finish, or you could have like a more like a satin finish, or you can do like a baked enamel with different colors. Like there's options to do things differently. So just for future reference, if you're dealing with other elevators, know that you can specialize and customize it the way that you'd like. So that's something that I'm going to take to the building after today's meeting sometime next week at a convenient time, just to check dimensions, make sure everything's going to fit, and our modernization process is going to be as smooth as possible. So that's pretty much that. And the next one, which is typically a bigger one, is the cab interior. So I just have the...
I just want to confirm.
Yeah.
This is our door that you're going to take and just refinish, right?
No, we're replacing with a brand new door.
It's a brand new door. Okay.
Brand new door. Yep. And then there's components that fix on top of it.
Okay.
That's ordered separately. That's in production right now.
Okay.
That's going to go on top of it as well.
And as it stands right now, what's the finish on it?
Stainless steel.
Okay.
Yep.
Like brushed stainless steel?
Yep. Brushed stainless steel.
Okay.
Number 304 is a very typical stainless steel.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Sorry.
That's quite all right. Ask as many questions as you like. I'm happy to answer, and if I don't know, I'll find out for you. So the next item is our cab. So you selected a cab interior upgrade. So that includes the walls, the handrails, and the ceiling. That is all, the walls at least are very customizable. There's lots of different selections that you can make. It's a two-toned style. So there's the bottom section that you can make a different color. The top section you can make a different color. I just picked a random one just to show you can do something random. It does not have to be the color I selected. I did provide a link in the email, so you can peruse through that at your leisure, whatever you'd like. And if you see something from the website that's different, I can always reach back to the vendor to see if they'd be able to provide it. So the choice is yours on that. And again, the dimensions that they provide here, I take and confirm on site just to make sure everything's fit and snug. Do you have any questions on the cap?
No, I was just very glad to hear that, that you just chose them at random.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the last and final piece are your signal fixtures. A lot of this is built to code compliance, just for typical code of 2013, the ASME 17 code. And that's just the standard ADA compliance with buttons being at a 42-inch height and, you know, AFF being at a certain height, like at finished flooring, so things of that nature. So it's going to be handicap accessible, and you also will have signals or voice. If you wanted to have voice for the 2 floors, you could have that as well. But that's pretty much it for that. So a lot of this I just take to make sure it's measured up properly. You can change the colors that light up around the buttons if you want. You can change the braille type that's on there. You can change the color of the display that's on this main car operating panel where you see the 99 and the arrow up. You can change that too. There's a lot of little custom things you can have fun with. You want to make it rainbow color, we can do it. So, you know, sometimes you can go crazy with the tiny details if you want. But it's your money, you can spend it how you'd like. That's kind of how I like to present it. So we do put the no smoking on there, which is self-explanatory, but it's a compliance thing that we throw on there. And then every year you have your annual certificate. We also make sure that that's viewed here on the window on the panel as well. So as far as the hall fixtures, those are surface mounted. So there's going to be very little chipping and cutting into the walls to make sure that everything fits properly. So we're gonna minimize any kind of mess and noise to the best of our ability. And if there is something that's going to be a bit annoying or of a higher decibel, we'll be sure to let you know before we get at it. We don't want to be disturbing, you know, the best that we can anyway. And then here we have our basics information here with in case of fire, elevators out of service, and then you have your access switches, you know, typical things that are required for elevator operation, you know, in case of an emergency or general access from the mechanic. And then we also have our combination hall position indicator and lantern. That again is an ADA compliance there, so that we allow the fixture allows for there to be a signal and visual for anybody hearing or visually impaired, so they know that the elevator's here, where it's going, things along that line. So there is a chime inside there, which it all shows on here. And again, this is going to be the same type of metal, a 304 stainless steel brushed finish, so it's going to match everything that's in there. And whatever you see that's digital or anything that lights up, colors can change, design can change. If you were curious about additionals in that, I can provide you that. I believe that's pretty much it as far as approvals are required on our end.
The customizations you were talking about, are those at extra cost, or are those things that are?
They're just
already
things that I
built
can
in?
make change. It'll be of no cost to you whatsoever.
Even if you had time to review some of the options with your staff.
No, I mean, I can do that, or if you prefer something, I mean, I wouldn't go Dragon Fire.
Thank you.
It might be a little
little
scary to get into the elevator and go down, but I think something, not too
Neutral.
dark, because it's a small space, but yeah, neutral, like a silver gray,
Yeah, they have lots of
something,
gray
but
options.
not too dark, but not too light to show.
Yeah, because if you go
Things.
too light, then you'll see any kind of scuffing that happens.
Yeah.
And
Right.
touching them up is a little bit more difficult. Sometimes you end up having to replace them and cost more than $1, unfortunately.
I was thinking like my criteria was just kind of kid-proof, since the children's room is down there and there's a lot of kids that go up and down, making sure it's washable and, less fingerprints showing up.
And there's not like an extra lead time on any of the options. They're pretty much
They're pretty much all standard. The
available in the right
classic
time
2
frame.
laminates that are available. It's just more about the fabrication time for the cab company. Obviously, the sooner we get started with that, the less of a lead time that we have. But we can always work around it too, because there's plenty of work for us to do. So even if there is a week longer of a lead time that extends past our mobilization time frame, we can still start the work, do the work, and we're not going to skip a beat on the schedule until that comes in. It won't be a problem.
So if you're starting in November, how long do you need in terms of time for the fabrication?
For the fabrication right now, they told me they were at 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Is that something that's done at the end or in the middle, or as things are getting done, like on the outside of the elevator or cab? This can be done in the inside,
Yes, as far as the process is, the cab work is typically done towards the center
Okay.
of it. They'll come in, they'll gain control of the elevator, they'll land it on sticks, they'll hang it, then they'll replace the controller, put in the new controller, then run a temporary station, like temporary power through it so they can run the elevator up and down as needed. Then when they get to that point, then they strip the inside of the cab. Then they replace the car door, then they replace the car door equipment and everything that's related inside. And then they go into the cab, and then they do all the finalized little things like putting in the pit ladder and cleaning out the pit, painting, and other things that we have written out on the scope of work. But we can always adjust things as needed. It
Right.
happens, unfortunately, more often than not of late, just because how manufacturers are unpredictable. But we're very, very good at maintaining our schedule and being on point with what you need.
So if you had it by, like those colors, by the first week of October, that's like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Is
Yep. That would be
good?
That would be right on the fine line.
that, so like a week
if
from now?
if it's possible to get it a week from now,
I-
that would be
I-
wonderful, but I don't want to push you to make any kind of rash judgment. You're going to be looking at this interior for a long time. So it doesn't hurt to take an extra minute to take a look and make sure it's what you want.
You'll get it. We don't put deadlines. We kind of like think about it a really long time.
I know, I'm the same way, especially when it comes with, you have so many options. It's hard to pick one.
I'm just getting my calendar.
But I just want to say Dragon Fire
Old rat.
Depends on the building.
Well, I'm thinking of ours.
Yeah.
All right.
So it also depends on the kind of look you're going for. Personally, I'm a real big fan of the gray scheme, the gray scaling. And if you go with like a stainless steel bottom or like that gray bottom, and then like a lighter gray print up top, there's actually, and I'm not sure if it's written in the job or not, is sold. I don't think flooring was sold, but I'm going to put it in there anyway if I can. There's this very beautiful rubber tiling that looks like slate. It has a different like dark gray color to it. And when you first look at it, you think it's slate. You don't know it's rubber flooring. So I'll have to look into that to see if that's something that we can kind of throw in there that should have been included as part of the package. Like, why get a whole new cabin, no new flooring, you know? But yeah, the gray schemes look really good with this particular setup.
Leah, can I ask, I've been talking to my staff about what the working conditions are gonna be like. So they're concerned with, do we need to move staff work areas that are in the lower office where the mechanical, the elevator mechanical room is? I don't know if you remember, it's like the elevator's right there, but then there's a door and it's an office, and that's where the,
Yes. So the good thing is with our office, our warehouse is 10 minutes right down the road.
Mhm.
So we're going to have very minimal storage on site. We would like to have some bit of working space around the machine room, just because it's a very tight space where all that equipment is. So we're going to need some elbow room to move things around. So if we had like a 7-foot, basically like circumference around that, if it's possible, you don't have to clear out the whole space. But it would be nice to have a little bit of space to move things in and out without obstructing anyone's way or making things unsafe.
okay, and then what about sound?
Sound is not going to be overly dramatic. It's going to be a lot of, typical hardware and tools, like wrenches and screwdrivers and things like that. I don't think that they're going to be using any excessive power tools for this process. But I do have the foreman who's going to be running the job and on site with the mechanics, and I can set up a separate meeting with him, or have him just at least send an email or reach out on a phone conversation, like whatever works for you, to go over those kinds of details.
Yeah, because I have some people who are very sensitive to sound and smell.
Of course.
When we had our main stairwell replaced last year, the team who came in to do it said, "You'll be fine. You can stay open." And there were blowtorches and smoke and flashing lights, and it was not good.
Yeah.
Lots of headache-inducing sensory issues. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's definitely what we want to avoid.
Understandable. Nothing. There's not going to be any kind of like flashing or anything along those lines, and especially since we're retaining the jack, the big piston that's inside, that's where usually a lot of the noise is.
Okay.
And so if there's a particular time in which that decibel sensitivity is more like in like early in the morning, in the afternoon, any kind of noise we can adjust to happen more towards the time where that's not going to be an issue or less of a concern.
Okay. And
So,
do you have an idea of the hours of work?
so our mechanics typically work from 6:30 to 3. We can start whatever time makes sense for you. If you want us to start a little bit earlier, we can. A little bit later, we can. We can start at 7 and no noise until 8. It's really whatever works for you. We have no problem moving around that.
And
Alright.
with the 4-week project and being November, then that week of the holiday, like how are you projecting, I guess, that time frame and when it will end, and like are people planning to be on site essentially that week as well, or?
Yes. So
Okay.
as far as if there were any unforeseen circumstances, or if the mechanic or both the mechanics, it's a team, happen to have time off or something occur, we would have someone else jump in and take over the remainder of it. But we've talked extensively with the mechanic that is going to be doing the work, and there is no foreseeable issue with them completing it from start to finish. So, but we do have plenty of people on hand if something happens. But the only time that they would not be there, I believe it's the day of and the day after the holiday, I believe. I'd
That's
have to
when-
double check
And that's
like,
when
verify.
we're closed. So.
What about Veterans Day?
Veterans Day, I believe that they have off.
Well, Veterans Day is Saturday,
True.
so
So they would have it off.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not very good with holidays myself.
I was just looking at it.
Yeah, but is it observed on Friday?
We're open.
Oh.
We're closed on the Saturday. But
So there's no soldering or anything that's gonna cause fumes or odor?
No, yep, there will be no welding, no tearing anything apart that's gonna create an excessive amount of dust. The worst thing that'll happen is, moving the old equipment out. So whatever might be coming up from that, but it's not gonna be like sawdust, like coming everywhere, smoke billowing out anywhere. We're not gonna be doing any work like that. It's all gonna be hand mechanically manipulated work.
So the biggest disruption is maybe Joanne's desk
oh yeah,
downstairs will
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be moved. And then
I was almost thinking maybe that, is there a door to the stairwell?
Mhm.
That the staff room might have to be open. Not the staff room, the lower
the lower
offices,
office.
because they're gonna be going in and out, in and out.
Yeah, how much back and forth through the doors do you think there'll be?
Not a horrible amount.
Okay.
Typically, the first day is when you're gonna have a lot of activity, just with them getting set up, bringing in their toolbox. They have a gang box, which they will need to set up to have access to, which I believe we have the space and ability outside of the elevator in that hallway there. We could find a way to make sure that's set out of the way safely. So outside of that first day, there's really not a whole lot of in and out. Once they're settled in and they've got their equipment, they're ready to go.
And they'll be mostly in the mechanic.
Yep, they're mostly in
Mechanical
the mechanical room and in the elevator. And at all times, the elevator doors will be closed. They will not be open, and there will be barricades that will be right outside the opening as well. So when the mechanics do have them open, the elevator is at the landing and it's stripped down to just the platform and the sling. It looks kind of scary, but the mechanic is there standing on the platform and the barricades are there. Whenever he steps out, he closes the landing doors behind him. So at no point there will be an open hoistway, and there will be no possibility of someone accidentally finding their way in there.
That's great, because one of the concerns was with the children's room down there, kids running down the hallway or
Absolutely,
something.
yep.
okay.
My only other question, and I think you've pretty much answered it, but with other facilities that have had maintenance on their elevators, I assume, or correct me, are they let open? Like, do they stay open? Are there any issues? Have other companies had issues where they needed to close or reallocate people to different spaces for the work that's being done? Or is it just business as usual?
Don't exactly understand what you're asking.
Like if an elevator is getting worked on,
Mhm.
the thing is the elevator is mostly in like a hallway,
Mhm.
so it maybe not, it wouldn't be affecting a business or office space that could be down the hall. I think I'm just answering my own question. Don't worry about it.
You're
All
yeah,
right.
you're
I don't
asking
mind
about-
at all.
We're just concerned about disruption to patrons,
Absolutely.
disruption
Yeah.
to the staff.
Absolutely.
So what it sounds like is they will be working on the lower level. They won't be working from the upstairs.
They will be working on both levels.
Okay.
It depends on what stage that they're at. They do have to get into the pit to do pit work, so they'll be on that bottom floor to do that in the time that's allotted there. I do have a customer schedule that I have laid out. I can definitely have the foreman provide a detail, like exactly what's going to happen when, so that way you can be prepared for it. And they will have to be on that first floor to work on the elevator door and everything that's inside the hoist. We have the car top. So there's a little bit of work on both ends, but I can talk with him about staging it if you would prefer to have like certain days or certain times for that work to be done.
How much sort of clearance around that opening will they need?
Not a whole lot. That's really gonna be up to the foreman as far as what space he's gonna need in that area. I don't think that they're going to need a lot. Again, with us being right down the road, we can treat the warehouse as our staging setup. And if the guys have to wait 15 minutes for their stuff to show up, they can wait 15 minutes.
So there may be times where staff has to go through your office to get to tech services, because that door is right there in
Yep.
front of the,
They used to.
yeah.
Before
Yeah.
I said to stop. Yeah, I mean, we're mostly trying to plan for what level of programming can we do, bringing, families, kids downstairs for story times, which are very well attended, and how much to move things virtually or just not schedule. And then we're just aware that, without elevator access, anyone who really uses the elevator to get down to the restrooms, that they wouldn't be able to.
And
So-
we can allow, like I said, we run a temporary power to the cab. We can provide up and down movement for people if it's needed. If you're in an emergency situation, and it's, as long as there's not a constant flow, which I can't imagine that happening in that building. As long as there's a constant flow of civilians needing to use it, we can accommodate. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we do move books with
Mhm.
book carts.
Yeah,
That's-
it's kind of
is-
difficult to get
that
those
is
up and
throughout the day.
downstairs, and
Yeah.
just like throwing it
So-
in a bag and walking it down. I understand. I've dealt with this even
Mhm.
with retirement homes. So you have persons in wheelchairs,
Mhm.
and carting them up and down a stairwell is not very feasible. I've seen it done. It's not fun. I've done it myself. It's not fun. So we do have the ability to take people up and down if you really need it to. We don't want to upset service too much for you.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, and I think that touch point, and I mean, Yvette could say more, certainly, that, than I would, but about either a daily or twice a week or, whatever cadence, that check-in is are we on pace and doing this work at this time? I think that type of coordination just can help. As much communication as there is, I think is, in my experience, very helpful, and I imagine it would be for you guys during that time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a problem. We can arrange that. And I know I can create a very comprehensive breakdown again of the schedule and what kind of work is to be expected. And I'll make it a point to underline the noise concern there, just to make sure that the foreman's completely aware that there is a definite sensitivity here and we need to be as careful as possible.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
that way
would
too,
be
if
ideally.
there will be unavoidable times and unavoidable noise.
Right.
So I can find out and pinpoint exactly where
Mhm.
that's going to happen. So I can say on day 8 of us being here, there's going to be some banging.
Right.
It's going to be in the morning. This is
Right.
what we're doing and where. So then that way you can navigate around that,
Yep.
or we can schedule it at a different part, find a comprehensive place to put it instead of at that time that would be inconvenient for you.
That sounds good.
That's great.
Yeah. Good.
That was all my questions. Do you want to just go through this with your leadership team for the colors and everything?
Sure, I can. Yep,
Is
I
that-
can email you something.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have my email, all my information's on there. So if anybody here, or if you have any other parties involved that have any questions at all, even if it's not about the library and you have other buildings, you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. So definitely, I'm open and available, obviously, at any time. Feel free to use me.
All right. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
So in order to move forward with these, all I need is either an email approval, or if you want to physically sign, or PDF stamp, however you want to proceed, just let me know and say this is our formal, authorization to move forward, and then we'll be able to go from there.
Does that include all the colors or everything, or can you take a signature now on just.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
if we're using this meeting as a formal authorization approval, if you wanted to give that for the car panels, we can take this meeting as an acceptance of that. I can send an email authorization to you saying, hey, as a follow-up from our meeting today, you provide authorization for, for the fixtures and for the car door and pending approval for the cab interior in the near future. So if you'd
Makes
like, I can
sense to
set
get it
that,
in
and
there.
that way you have a
Yeah.
formal email just to serve as documentation for that.
Do that.
That sounds good. Then you can get moving on some of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. The sooner we get everything together, the better. For sure.
So you're gonna send us that email,
Yes.
and then you're gonna also send a comprehensive schedule, or however that tells what days of what's
Yes.
happening. And then we're gonna get you the color scheme.
Yes.
And is there something else?
I'm checking on the flooring for you. Because if I can get away with it, I'm gonna.
Did I miss anything? Is there something else?
That was it.
Okay. I thought so. And then, yep. That's all. Okay.
All right. Well,
Excellent.
half hour, that's not too bad.
No.
You said an hour. I could make it an
I
hour.
know.
if you want.
You were very
Yeah.
thorough.
Oh, you're quite all right. That's quite all
Our
right.
concern was all about noise and fumes, and when you're basically saying that there's minimal noise and there's no fumes, and it's like, all right, I don't need to ask those questions.
Yeah, it's nice and relatively unheard of with bigger projects, but with this kind of setup, it's not going to be too bad. And I'll be able to give you a good heads up on what's going on. So that way there's no shocking, there's no surprises, there's no panicking with anybody. We want to keep everyone as calm and healthy and stable as possible. So
Excellent.
I understand
Fantastic.
all too well. Definitely.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's much better than I was worried there was gonna be a lot more disruption.
Yeah.
But if she can give you a schedule too, then, if there's gonna be noise up there in the circulation desk, maybe put a message on the phones or something that they can't be answered during that time or however, but you
Yeah.
can adjust, so. it's good.
That's great.
I did the amendment wrong. You seconded, but we never voted to modify the agenda.
Yeah, we did.
Did we vote? No, I didn't remember. Thank you.
Because I remember voting, because last time I made myself so sensitive to it because I wasn't allowed. So I did vote
Yeah.
this time.
Thanks. All right, we can go through old business now. So we have our August action items. And I have, Yvette will get a quote for the roof.
Kind of. I mean, he's working under the $200,000. So
Yvette will get electrical quote for plumbing.
Yep.
Yvette will get quote for commissioning agent. I think we're still waiting on that one.
which one?
The commissioning agent.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that. Yep.
Deb and I will meet with Molly and Ruth Marie, which we did. And then I was to move $235, which I did. You'll see it in next month's balance sheet. Deb will send a note to Deb Holdley. I don't know. We'll save that for next month. And then trustees will reach out to Yvette to help at book sale, and we did. So that's what I had for action items. SMP, there's nothing. Strategic plan, not knowing what Deb did. I looked at her timeline, and it said mid-September, in the timeline that she was gonna start talking to you and staff.
Yeah, Deb sent me an email saying which staff are to be included with Ruth Marie and I'm not sure who the other
Robbie.
is it
Robbie,
Robbie? And I'll tell you, they're all going to want to be. So if you have any guidance,
Throw names out of a hat.
maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can all look at the elevator panel.
There.
You can either do this or this. If you want to look at the elevator panel, then you can't be.
That's right.
Or you might be able to do, a lot of times we would do like one of those large like easel board papers and just have people put sticky notes as they have time, like things that are important to them about going forward and ideas they have or different categories that you can kind of put up, and that I think helps people get kind of plugged in even if they're not like physically at a meeting about it. Just a thought.
I guess some of it too would be when are the meetings gonna be and who's available to go to those meetings.
Yeah. Scheduling.
Okay.
So that was Deb Hoadley that emailed you? Okay. So she'll kind of give us the timeline once she has that information?
Well, she had a timeline,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
which I didn't bring with me.
I actually have it. I have it up.
But had something about something was starting in September.
Yes. Yeah, it just says, I have like many things open for, consultant meets virtually with library director and other key staff members to begin assessment of facilities, services, technology, and operations. This is early September. So there's a bunch of things under there though. It's like invitations to stakeholders, library staff will gather community demographics and library stats, but the first one is just consultant meets virtually with library director and key staff members. Review the past strategic plan for goals met and unmet, what needs to be continued in future plans, set dates for meetings outlined below. That's September, early September. So great. I'm glad to hear that she's reached out, and good luck. Building maintenance project list. Comments, questions? Okay. The energy audit is still sitting there. We're still working the Incatel and custom electric proposals we got, but I want to wait till your director's report
Okay.
just to get it all together. Princh. We got a list, or we got an invoice for a new payment due. And I guess the question is, do we want to continue with it? Do we not want to continue with it?
Is that an annual fee?
It is an annual fee, and it's a little earlier than our past, but I
Right.
I was-
I remember you saying it was
December, because
Yeah.
that's when the other two were, so, but I sent out an email and I sent this, it's a profit and loss, that shows all the income coming in and what was sent out, so income and expenses, and at the moment, we have a net loss of $179.86. But it's a nice service. My recommendation would be to pay for it for one more year out of copier funds, and during the year, see if there's another system, see if there's another service out there to be able to print over the web.
I think that sounds good. What are your thoughts, Yvette?
I think that's good.
Okay,
Sounds- Yeah, agree.
so I make a
What would the, I'm sorry. I didn't-
Okay.
What would the, criteria be for the different service to replace print? What improvement?
Less
Is
expensive.
it
less
simply
expensive, like, this is a
Just cost?
cost, this is also a company that's overseas, not that that matters too much, but it's,
Some
where is it?
added fees because
Right, there is
it's
an added fee.
international.
Just local,
But you said,
Or-
well, you said that they're moving a base of operations to this
there, we got an
country.
email about it, yes, but I don't know what that entails,
Okay.
so,
So essentially looking for the same service, but would cost less because it would be closer. Or
potentially,
certainly.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it's an expensive service,
yeah, I see.
so, it's a good service, it's just expensive. So, I guess I can't believe there aren't other services out there, and I don't know if they would be. I don't know if you can blast New Hampshire libraries and ask, if they have a service like this.
I don't know, because people are using print.
I know, well, yeah,
So, but you would think that after a couple years, someone
someone
has
is,
figured
exactly,
it out.
Right.
Yeah.
exactly,
Competition.
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to renew Prince for another year for $699. And any additional international fees, if there is some, while also investigating additional,
Alternate
or,
services.
yeah, alternate services. Need a second?
Second?
Yeah, a second. All those in favor? 500. Excellent. All
And
right.
Janet, this is something you usually pay, don't you?
No, the last, so once there was a check, and then
Okay.
once, actually, you've done it all by
Credit card?
business card,
Okay, I'll take care of that.
so, yeah. New business, the FY 2023-23 budget, general ledger, invoice manifest, and open POs. Questions, comments, thoughts? I didn't have anything.
Can you just, 'cause I'm getting kind of caught back up on this.
Sure.
Right, this makes it look like these lines are overspent. But I mean, they can't be at this point.
Yes, well, the first line looks at it and the third line, but not the middle line. Because that one's still 631. But the other two, yes. It's because what they do at the start of the year, they just take all of the anticipated money that's gonna be spent for that line, put it, and they can encumber it.
Oh, okay. Okay. That was my only question.
Everyone all set?
Yep.
Okay, policy reviews. Let's see.
Okay, so this is a gifts and memorials policy. Seemed a little wordy and redundant to me, so I
I love it.
made some edits. So if it's still wordy, then please tell me where else to cut.
I only had one question.
Mhm.
I think the edits are great. In that book donations section,
Mhm.
the I don't know if I can put myself in the same frame of mind as when I read this before, but you know how the very last line has if they are donated to the sale. However, there's not a reference to the sale, the book sale. Now
yeah.
that's crossed out.
Yeah, I had the same thing.
Oh,
I was gonna
okay.
take out to the sale. But my question was, do we still want to keep reference to let people know that if something was donated, that it's possible it could go to the sale and not into the collection?
Yeah, we can.
So I wonder if somebody, there might be people who might be offended if they think they're donating it into the collection and then they see it in the book sale later.
Yeah, it usually goes the other way. That people donate things for the sale and will glean, will
great.
glean things for the collection.
Right.
Not so much the other way around, but I can put that back in.
Or even, do we need a separate section about donating to the book sale specifically? Or is that because that's the friends, that doesn't really apply?
I think it's a little blurry after that, in terms of the sale, because we're the ones accepting the donations on their behalf, and our staff is going through them to see, oh, is this damaged and needs to be discarded, or is this good, the kind of good thing for a sale,
Right.
because we know what people tend to buy. Or is this something we're going to pull off for either the collection or a prize book for summer reading?
Right.
I mean, I think I can include the paragraph more in, referencing the sale and all the different ways a book might.
Yeah, just in case. That's
Okay.
a good idea. Somebody
Yeah.
brings it up.
This or that.
So do you want to bring it back to us or? Or just accept with that change?
I think except with the change, because
Okay.
really I'm just gonna go back to that sentence, used books and other materials can often be used in, I mean, it should just be reworded so it's not so, it seems to repeat a lot and talk over itself. So I would just go back to that sentence, clean it
Okay.
up and then include it.
I'm good.
So,
Agree.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept the gifts and memorial policy with that change.
I'll second.
All those in favor? 500. Fantastic. Done. Director's report.
okay. Well, since I sent this, I have other donations to add. So what's included? We received 2 baskets of children's art and school supplies from Merrimack resident Jen Mayer. We would like to use these for giveaways during youth programs.
I make a motion to accept the 2 baskets of children's art and school supplies from Merrimack resident Jen Mayer.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Thank you, Ms. Mayer.
Also, we received a copy of Dungeons and Dragons: Eberron Rising from the Last War, a game source book from resident Mitchell Ripka that we would like to add to our collection.
I make a motion to accept the copy of Dungeons and Dragons Eberron Rising from the Last War from resident Mitchell Ripka.
I second.
All those in favor? Thank you, Mr. Ripka.
Okay, we also received an email from Seacoast Science Center, and they told us that Denise and Steve Buck have graciously donated a library membership to our library for 2024.
Oh, wow.
They had won third place in the Seacoast Science Center's Music by the Sea raffle and wanted to share the membership with the library and our patrons. Our current membership is valid until April 30th, at which time they will send us a new and updated library membership packet, which will be this one that's donated.
Wow. That was very nice.
It's very nice.
All right. I may make a motion to accept. Make a motion to accept. Or is it the Seacoast? Where is it? The Seacoast Science Center membership donated from Denise and Steve Buck for membership for our 2024 year.
Second.
If
If
you're
you're
very
done.
generous.
If you're done with your motion.
I am. I was reading, sorry. That's really nice. All those in favor? Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Buck.
Do you need this, Jen? Do you want it?
No.
All right. I also have a 2 coding games for children donated by resident Jennifer Kelly, and we'd like to add this to our collection. I'm not sure if Kathy wants to circulate it or have for in-house, but usually when we add it, it's cataloged and then people can decide what they want to do.
They're children coding.
Coding, Caterpillar, and Code and Go. Robot Mouse.
Coding Caterpillar and Code and Go. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept a Coding Caterpillar and Code and Go robot mouse. 2 coding items for children. Donated by Jennifer Kelly. All those in favor? Thank you very much, Miss Kelly.
Okay, and finally, there are 10 puzzles donated by various people. So this is kind of an anonymous because I don't have the names of the people who donated them. But we would like to add this to our Library of Things collection. Very nice
Wow.
puzzles.
Yes. Make a motion to accept the 10 puzzles to circulate in our Library of Things collection.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much for those puzzles.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see. We would like to offer the part-time patron services position to candidate Erin Blaze. Deb signed the PAR already,
Yeah.
which the board has given her the authority to do that, but you still can vote to accept the hire.
Yes. I vote to accept the hire for part-time patron services candidate Erin Blaze.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Great.
Now it's fully staffed.
That's great. We had we received notice from the state library that our New Hampshire downloadable dues have increased. We voted no on the increase, but there were only 4 libraries that voted no on the increase. So we didn't budget for that. It's a 10% increase, so now our bill is going to be over $9,000. So it's budgeted maybe $7,600, $7,700. So that's going to look overspent, and I'm not sure how you want me to proceed, but I'm telling you.
So it was listed in the POs as 9872.
Yep, that's it.
So that's after the increase.
That is the
9872.
yes, that
Okay.
counts. That includes the increase.
And do you have the amount
I,
that it was
I can-
budgeted?
mm,
Or
can
was
look it
that
up.
kind of mixed in with other stuff?
I don't know. I can look it up. I would just take it out of appropriations.
Okay,
We have
okay,
extra. So, yeah,
okay.
my suggestion would just say, take it out of appropriations.
And we don't need to vote on that.
No,
Okay.
you still need to look it up.
Only if you want me to note like the exact amount.
I'll just look it up. What's next?
I'm gonna send around, a copy of the email from Scott Livernoy answering your questions, Janet, in red. And then there's green that he had left me a voicemail that I was
Copy.
trying to transcribe. It was pretty much not any additional information, but,
Okay. Which one?
Does this mean that being less
Yeah. Well,
I
because
thought
he
so
was like,
too.
come under the 2K mark. And I'm like,
well,
what is that?
I've talked to him on the phone. And he is looking for vendors who, maybe are newer companies, smaller companies, and don't have that don't have a lot of overhead, don't have a lot on their plate right now, and would be, eager to do this work. So we've worked with him before. I think he's
Right.
very conscientious, and he's really trying to stay under our budget, but still get the work done right.
So my question is, are we only looking at metal roof right now? Is that, 'cause that's all he
That's all he talked
wrote,
about,
right?
Yeah.
'Cause to be honest, I don't want to spend $200,000 on the roof. That seems like a lot of money for the size of the roof. But I haven't
No,
priced
I
out
agree.
metal roofs
I don't,
either, so-
exactly. It seems high to me. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
So what he's requesting now is that we approve $2,450 for them to do up drawings. And that's prior to getting bids, right? Because they would need the drawings in order to go out to bid. But have we decided that definitely that's what we want to do is the metal roofing?
Well, based off of what his comment was with the, he said, I would like your approval to order the engineering shop drawings, which take approximately 4 weeks to complete and is required before we manufacture panels for the project and required for warranty. Given the roof, I think regardless of if it's metal or something else, we're probably gonna need engineering drawings. So, which is why, my question to Yvette was, who would create the engineering shop drawings? Is this something we are buying so any installer could use them? And the answer is yes, this completed shop drawing package would be the property of the library and has a long lead time. We would need to get started on right away to stay ahead of the weather. And yes, the shop drawings can be bid out. They would have all.
But
the
is that
details.
specific drawings to metal roofing?
Well,
Or to-
I thought the board talked about slate,
Yeah.
and slate is
Right, obviously expensive.
not, yeah, I don't think it's feasible.
Um, but had we, obviously, this conversation had started before the new year and we were on the board, so, was there talk of slate alternatives, anything
That's
other
what this
than?
is. This is something, it's an interlocking system that looks like slate,
Oh,
but it's
okay,
not slate.
okay,
So,
okay. I
That's
thought
fine
when
what
he
it looks
said
like.
it's what is on the dog houses, I thought that was the metal,
It is, that's the color that he's saying.
okay, but that's not,
I don't know.
not the look of that, okay.
I don't know what it's gonna look like.
Because I was envisioning like, the metal roofs where the snow can slide off,
Yeah.
that type of metal, because that on the dog houses, isn't it going horizontally? That's not slate, like,
Doghouse is a color, right?
No,
it's a
in
shape.
in the
Okay.
library, the windows that have a structure around it, they call the doghouse.
The design.
on the flat part of the roof, they're little kind of,
There are some skylights.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I don't know what it's gonna look like.
that's what okay, you have that question in there too.
Would
Because
the
it says
shop,
matching the existing roof system installed on the two doghouse roofs.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like slate roof to me.
No, it's the gray, it's that cadet gray.
Because he's not just saying matching the color, he's saying this existing system. Can he come in and talk to us?
I don't know.
I can ask them.
I
Yeah,
would think too, the shop drawings might show us, in theory, what at least,
I think if the shop
It would
drawings are
look
gonna be
like-
similar to like what she had for drawings.
yeah. I'm just confused, because if I hire somebody to reshingle my house, they're not bringing me drawings, they're just doing it.
Yeah.
So why do we have to pay $24.50? I would like to talk to him and understand it better before we vote on something like that.
Can I just ask a question on the other thoughts? Someone pointed out we have to say in the work.
That's me.
Okay. Do we have any answers to that, or was that just something that was proposed in?
I think the red is his comments. It's
Oh, okay,
35-year
okay.
watertight. The more mild the weather, the shorter the timeline. 4 to 5 weeks for shop drawings. And a couple more weeks to install metal system. Hopefully, one of the bidders could do the demo, overlay plywood, and install the high temperature element to get everything watertight while we wait for shop drawings and panels. That makes
Yeah,
it
'cause
sound.
I didn't see the costs attached to that, and I'm curious about that too. That would be
Well, he's
helpful,
making
maybe.
it sound like we need to do the shop drawings first so we can put it out to bid, and then we
Okay.
get a quote for the whole thing, but
So shop drawings, then he can give us a comparison of the statement of work and all the details. Is that what, I'm not clear on that.
Given his last comment, the hopefully one of the bidders could do the demo overlay
Yeah.
plywood and install, then it sounds like someone else would be doing the demo where,
It doesn't sound like,
Still have a lot of questions.
yeah. And then we don't know how long that's gonna be, that's kind of just open. I mean, you said it would be watertight, but
he did say at the start that once, where is it? Once the slate is removed, they can do like the water tightening stuff in a couple days. And then it's watertight. Yeah, it will take 8 working days to complete the metal move installation after the, well, no, that's after the initial. Somewhere he says it. Maybe it's in a different email. So what do we want to do with this? Do we have more questions? Do we want to meet with them?
I do.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment or
Yeah.
a suggestion or something?
Yeah.
This is not the normal packet we get from a vendor. Okay. There's more, I've had more phone conversations about things and I need to see something. I mean, I'm agreeing with you where I would prefer a timeline with an itemized list with the cost associated and what are the steps, spell it out for me, because I'm not a roofer.
Right.
You know, and we also need to think about what's the workaround for our staff. You know, right now, I think, you know, we've kind of been chipping away at this slowly. And he's now very concerned about the time, but it's, so, you know, we're not going to get ahead of the snow. We're not, because it's September and it snows in October.
Yeah.
The last time we had the roof done, they were working in the snow.
Yeah.
So is there, in terms of a timeline and kind of lifting the urgency from the project, the roof is leaking. We know this. We're going to deal with the roof leaking until it's done. You know, so I mean, I'm feeling like the window is small and he's very concerned about these shop drawings getting done, but at the same time, there's a slowness that's happening. That's,
Like one slowness is leading to another
Yeah.
slowness, so to say.
well, if you had
Or slowness
if
to
you had
urgency.
if you had this,
Yeah.
Right.
month
we
ago,
get
you would-
pictures
Right.
of-
Yeah.
pictures
So,
of here's the
but
material.
that's not how
and-
Yeah.
he's working right now.
Right.
So I'm not sure what to ask for, but it's something like, you want images of this thing,
Yes.
you want to know what the thing looks like,
Mhm.
a timeline with the cost, you know, attached
Yes.
to it,
Yeah.
itemized, so you know
Yes.
exactly what this thing costs and that thing costs.
Right.
And then also he can come in and explain it to you. And that seems to push the project out to the spring.
But then if we're doing that, why don't we just put out an RFP? And then if we still only get the information, which would have all of your itemized with documents, with pictures, maybe it's not just him. Maybe it is just him, but we're gonna get it anyway.
Was there an agreement to have him at some point, or how? I'm not sure.
Only because he worked on the roof last time,
Okay.
and he's been up. I've been up on the roof.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I've seen everything.
More than you
Um,
ever wanted.
I've seen everything. You know, and the slate, you know, he was up on the roof a year ago taking pictures of the slate, and the slate it's a miracle. It's like there's a magic bubble holding everything together because it should just fly off with the wind. It's all in pieces. It's not.
How about a picture or a sample of the material that he's recommending? So that we can actually see,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
Yeah, I'd like to see options,
Yeah.
like what we
I
have.
think a visual, some sort of table or something with the options and the pricing, so we can see that. I think that's definitely a piece of this. I go back to the piece about the shop drawing package. We're going to need that regardless of what we do.
Yeah,
And
I
that
think
would,
so
seems
too.
like it would help expedite things. Are we in a position to be comfortable with saying, okay, let's go ahead with the drawing package, because if it is the
You're not
property of the
But
library.
I'm not, just because I don't know what that means. Is it specific to this type of roof? Or-
Okay.
Well, maybe that's the
Um,
question.
Right, if you just have shingles put on, you're not getting shop drawings, they're just taking off the old
They
stuff
just
and
take-
putting it
yeah.
on, so that's where I would vote no, no to
the
taking a vote on
$2,500.
yeah.
Well, and then that's the point as far as the RFP. If we put out an RFP, we know this is slow moving for whatever reason already, and we put out an RFP, then we're gonna get the information as part of that package, right?
Yeah, and maybe some different options too. I mean, I hate putting it off because we know water's coming in.
Yeah.
And we want to get it done, but, and I don't know if he just knows that, do we have 200,000 in like.
That's what we put in
CIP.
the CIP.
Right, so I'm just wondering if he's like, oh, well, you said 200,000, we're gonna go with what matches 200,000.
Yeah, but, and that was last year. So
Right,
all the costs have gone up.
right.
Yeah,
You know, when we had talked about, we had on the CIP, you know, the north part
Yeah.
of the roof only, and then all of the roof, all of the slate roof, all sides. So all sides was the 200. But I don't know, I mean, I've never had my roof done, so I don't know what the process is for that, but you know, I imagine you take the shingles off the roof and what's under there, and it's the original 1925 material, and how damaged is it under there, and we don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
and
a
he
little
said
concerned
that
that
he
we're
was-
limiting ourselves to only $200,000 to get anything done, and we can open up the roof and it could be a lot more, because we don't know what the damage is. We just know the evidence of damage because the water comes in.
A totally different project, but I'm wondering if we're opening it all up and that there's no insulation in there, can we do the insulation while that's,
That's
Well,
a
that is
separate, I
open.
think he was writing that would be a separate project with a separate cost attached.
sure.
But that's part of the energy audit, is we know that there's
Right.
Yeah, we know
no
there's nothing.
insulation in there.
So if it's
and
already open.
Well,
right,
I've been
can
up
that
in the
be
roof
worked
and
in?
it's like newspaper. Because if you go into my office and go up on a ladder, and I've been up, I haven't been inside, but you know, it's newspaper.
Right.
You know, it's like not real. But we know from the scans as well that there are a
Yeah.
lot of spots.
I'd rather have us slow down and make sure, like, if that's something we can fit in, we can fit that into, you know, the same, you know, with things pulled off, we can get insulation in there or.
and I don't know if this is in the partnership agreement that we have with the town, but is there someone on Paul's team that would be available for questions of these types of, on roofing? I mean, I am not a subject matter expert or have any experience with roofing, but there's been work done on this, there's been input given. Do we have enough of questions here that we could ask someone who's done this to say, hey, this is what we're looking for, is that typical for these types of projects?
It's an atypical,
Yeah, because
atypical
the
project,
building is
but,
so old.
um,
that
but I
we're
don't know if
working on.
if Dawn is a resource for any of that.
For example, like the question on the drawings, like if someone could help us answer that question, like, is this normal to have drawing specific things? They're like, yes, okay, then we know that, and maybe we're in a position where we can move forward with the engineering shop drawings. But if we don't need them, then we've already answered that question and say, okay, well, for this, we're being advised that we don't need them for this type of project. I mean, with what you've shared, I'm concerned about the timeline too. I mean, I'm not quite sure what we need to make it move forward. We know what we don't have. I guess thinking out loud, I don't know what we would need for a project like this. And I don't know if there's something that could provide advice on that.
I don't know. I want to see if we have money. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, where I went was money. What do we do? Yeah, we have money. But given that, my other concern is even if we started, like, even if we approved the drawings and started them, it's going to be doing the same time frame as the elevator. And that's a lot of stuff going on in a very small space. So, I mean, I realize they're outside versus inside, but it's still noisy.
I didn't think about the noise.
So if you've ever been around when they're just
Oh,
taking
yeah, they're
shingles
just
off, I mean,
hanging.
I can
Oh,
only
yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
how much the
Yeah.
slate's going to be, and they're taking off the plywood. So they're bringing it down to the beams.
Right.
So the whole,
That's my office.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lowell.
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah,
Henderson.
Tech, yeah, yeah.
Probably have to
So-
have the whole operations conversation with the roof work as well
Exactly.
for
So,
how that.
So we would need to talk to
yeah.
So, I mean, if we did like,
So what do we need to
if
know?
we did like an RFP, that would be through the town, right?
Yep.
I think we're bypassing an RFP just
Okay.
by reaching out to Scott because he worked on the roof before.
Yeah.
And
But-
we've talked to him
But we
about the
also
slate
had a
roof.
lot of delays before.
Yep.
Through Scott.
Yep.
So I don't mind looking at other vendors to see what else is out there. How you guys feel about that?
I think my question would be, how long is that gonna take? Just because of their, I mean, this has been on the docket, it sounds like for the last year
Longer.
or longer. And, we don't know what's in there. So time frame for me would be,
But I agree with you on time frame. But I guess the question though is it still going to get done this year? Like realistically, is it going to get done this year? Even if we
Even if
agree
we
to buy
rushed and
everything
did
right
all
now.
this,
I mean, it
Yeah.
takes he said 4 to 6, what did he say, 4
4
to
to 6 weeks just
6
for the
weeks
shop drawings. And then it has to go to bid and then he, yeah.
And then there's, I wish I must have been on something else. He says how long it takes to install everything.
So I'm hearing a couple things brought up.
8 working days to, oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, to
after it's-
complete the metal roof.
Yeah.
That's after
That's
they do the
after.
plywood.
After the
and-
initial work
Yeah.
is to rip prep and bring the surface to watertight.
And that's if he can find workers to come in and do all that in the time
So,
frame.
what we just discussed, some of the questions, if I'm trying to organize them in my head. The first question is, do we need the drawings? That'd be the first thing to find out. The second thing would be, do we proceed with the drawings, because if we keep them anyway, right, if we keep those shop drawings anyway, it could be in our interest, no matter what we do to keep them, if we do need them. And then we absolutely, whether we use him or not, we don't know what the costs are associated with these things. And so we're looking for a visual. And either that's gonna come through someone who's already worked on the roof, or if we decide to go through the RFP process.
So here's my question is, are the drawings specific to this type of metal roof? That would be
Yeah,
my,
that's- I
my
agree.
first question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what, otherwise, why would you need engineering shop drawings? Because they've got to manufacture these pieces, right? If you were just doing regular shingles, you wouldn't need drawings.
Yep,
Well,
I
maybe
agree.
because this is a roof, there's some architecture, but I'm guessing, I don't know. But that's an area where it would be helpful to know more about the engineering shop. Like, is it standard? We don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how a metal roof works. I don't know if it's because it's specific. I mean, like my father-in-law has a metal roof, but because it's a house, he didn't have anything prefabbed for him. But I don't know, because it's this type of building and it has a particular style. I'm sure there's some rationale. I don't know it.
Yeah. Well, he says before we manufacture the panels for the project are required for warranty. And to your point, it could be that this is just specific to this, and if we go with another option, but we don't know what the options are, if any.
Now, did you guys before, when we came on in April, did you go through different material options? No. So it was basically Scott's just saying, here's the option is, let's do this metal thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be, I mean, there's tons different roofing options.
I think the key was to have just be watertight, handle snow load, look decent, last a long time.
Well, I think we talked about wanting it to look like slate.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So-
We did. That's why I'm also stuck on what does it look like? I
Right.
don't know what a metal slate looking roof looks like.
We need more information.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like on the Garland website, there are images and they look great, but they're larger buildings and so I can see that it will look good, but I don't know what this slate like metal roof looks like. So you want to know what the drawings, if they're specific to a metal roof,
Right. What does this metal roof look like?
and then what does the metal roof look like?
Yeah. And then, yeah, I just think that's a whole lot of money. And even if we have the money, I don't really want to spend that much money on a roof. It just,
Might not have a choice. We're not gonna put shingles on them. Maybe.
as long as water doesn't come in. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess. So can you find out that information?
Mhm.
So in terms of him talking to the board, how do you want to do that? You want to wait until October? Or do you want
No.
to set up a Skype or, I mean, what do you, Skype, listen to me. What do you want?
Well,
I mean, he's local, isn't he? Like,
No,
could-
he's
oh,
not.
not.
I don't know, we could do
Like,
Zoom.
I don't mind coming, yeah, and getting
We could do
together
it.
and doing.
I don't mind
that.
either that, and we could do a
Yeah.
Zoom like we did with, we could do it in your office, we could do it here. I'm game for either one of those. I do not want to wait till our next meeting because we're gonna go into budget season and we're gonna be meeting enough. So,
Okay.
so
So if you all could send me available times,
And I'd like to see a sample, you must,
that's just a picture.
something.
Yeah.
That, what it would look like.
Yeah, okay.
okay, so everyone check your calendars and tell, we can email around for scheduling so that I
Do you
can,
think he's available evenings or would it need to be like
I can do-
daytime?
I mean, you guys are available evenings, so.
Yes. Yeah.
An evening Q&A.
There we go.
Yeah.
Focus on the A.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Does that help you? That I feel like we're just kind of
Yes,
talking in
no,
circles for
I-
you, but I
Would
feel
you
like
give enough clarity on what we're looking for.
Yes. Because I have the same questions.
Okay.
Oh, good, good.
That's
I know.
fine. The next thing I have in my report is the proposal from Custom Electric, because that was part of
yes.
the fixing the plumbing in the kitchen.
Can we just review what that was? It was the with the HVAC system is kind of hooked up incorrectly to the sink, right? And then
Yep.
that's backing up
Yes.
stuff in the
Yes.
sink.
Yes.
So we really should fix that. So that was, it was 827 for the plumbing and 870 for the electrical.
Mhm.
So grand total 1697.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Out of passports, let's do it.
Okay.
Is that a
So,
motion to second?
well, I was gonna say, I make a motion to, what was it,
97, is that what you said?
1697, yep. I make a motion for 1697 to fix the drain in the kitchen. Yeah. That's pretty much
Yeah,
what it
do you
is.
want to break it down? 827.
Sure, 827 for the installation of a condensate pump. And 870 for the installation of a 120 volt, 20 amp GFCI protected outlet. And it's gonna come out of passports.
Oh, passwords. Okay. I will second.
All those in favor? Or comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, all those in favor.
I did.
And what else?
That's good. And hopefully they can do that before November. And then all the other stuff.
Yeah. Actually, that's true.
Which
Given
comes
that they're
first? The
gonna-
electrical goes first. and
Yeah.
then the plumbing.
They come up test.
Yeah, but will they be in the way? of
Right,
that?
because that's in that same.
It's the same
area.
area.
No. No. Okay, so I'll contact them tomorrow and it'll be fine. So I'm just trying to go through the things that I underlined. There's a note about the carpet, where there was, before we put down the carpet, there was a tiled area and it created a little bit of a slope, and some people trip over the slope and some people don't. So we're reaching back out to Atkinson Carpet to see if there's, can they put a different pattern to kind of give you a visual signal that this is different.
Something.
They did their best to level it, but it really didn't level because they'd have to either grind down, take out the tiles, which we were like, no, just cover it, or build up, but you can't really build up. So thinking maybe a change in pattern might help. So that's that. We're also we've been talking for years about moving away from Dewey to Book Industry Standards and Communications, which is BSEC or BISEC. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it. But this is, there are several issues with the Dewey that are becoming more apparent when our staff learn about cataloging. Kathy took a class on Dewey and is really committed to moving away from that system. It limits a lot of cataloging ideas. So it's 19th century thinking. So it's a Christian-centric way of organizing stuff. So when you have religion, you have Christianity. And every other kind of religion in the world is othered. There were some debates up at Dartmouth, and I was talking to my husband about this, and he's like, well, that would be the Library of Congress. Oh, it's the point. The point the point is, how are you labeling illegal immigrants, which is not an accurate term anymore. It's, undocumented, people. So there are some things that as you think about things, that it's really not an appropriate or an accurate label that the Dewey system uses. It's also hard to get through. It's hard for people to find, because you look for something in the catalog and you're like, I want to find a book on gardening, and then you have to pick up the number, and then you have to go to the shelf to go with the number. And for librarians, we geek out about this stuff and get very into the numbers. But a normal person who's just looking for a book on gardening is having to switch from a topic to a number and then go back to the topic. It's much easier. We're finding that libraries that have just moved to words and using subject labels instead of numerical labels for their subjects, that people can find things a lot easier. There's also a benefit, and Deb Hoadley, I went to a presentation that she did years and years ago, where in her library, when she was a director in Massachusetts, they were putting in new carpet, and they took everything out of the building and then had this opportunity to go away from Dewey, and they spent a lot of time working out on paper the groupings of things, and it's stuff that we've done already. The teen collection is already under a different kind of subject heading for books. The DVD collection is under, horror or comedy, and that made a lot of sense. Some of the things in the children's collection, I believe picture books have already been shifted around, and it makes a lot of sense for people who want to I just want to read a story about, and then there are some libraries, when you start to look at groupings, you can say, group books on Italy with travel books, with language books, and then cookbooks. I mean, you can do a lot of things so that people are finding what they want, but more of on the same topic. So that's something we're talking about. We were saying, hey, if we have to close the building for any length of time during the elevator project, we could shift everything. It would be very intensive on tech services to change the labels and to change where things are, how it's presented in the catalog. But it is a thing, and I think it's a good thing. I think this is a good move. It would really be more helpful for our patrons to find stuff. So I don't have the details of what these neighborhoods are. Kathy's done half of her collection, and great, if she does it, then we can just steal it for the rest of the library. But yeah.
Now, is this for, I mean, it makes sense to when you're getting out of Dewey in the nonfiction world.
It's really nonfiction.
Okay.
That's really what it is. Fiction is fiction. We started to get a couple of requests for Spanish language books. So we had a little discussion about, did I write that down?
Yeah, you did.
Yay.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. And so then it's like, well, how do you choose? And I said, well, let's just buy New York Times bestsellers, because if I'm reading a book, I don't want to read, this obscure book in Spanish, which, we had lots of how to learn Spanish, and then we had some poetry. But that wasn't the request. It was, my mom's visiting and she wants to read something. Well, she wants to read Spare by her, she wants to read the stuff that everyone else is reading in English. So we're trying to figure out where to put those, and we decided, instead of interfiling it with the book in English, it's really a special collection where I just want to see the stuff in this language. So we're gonna start with Spanish and see how that goes. And Kathy is an incredible researcher. She's very much of an academic mind, and she's like, oh, here's all the languages that we have represented in Merrimack, so it's
Wow.
really cool. And it's so great because we had bought the Lote for Kids, which is all language, picture books in lots of languages in a digital format, so that kind of covers that. But we don't have the same in the adult collection for fiction. But yeah, that's just a little side adventure in fiction where, but the fiction shelving would stay the same. The media would stay the same. They're doing the weed of nonfiction right now is anything that hasn't circulated in 10 years, which I have had some incredible books come across my desk. And they also want to move the games from around the corner because it's a blind spot.
Yeah.
And really, Jen, they're working with Jen and Alyssa to kind of see how can we put it with the other media. Jen was doing a big report. She ran a report on the circulation of CDs and how many unique users are using our CD collection. And it's not that many, you know, it might be 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really, okay, well, we can
You
cut
could
this and
swap
create.
them.
Yeah, I mean, so there's always things that you look at in your collection. So there's lots of stuff going on, but that's one thing we're looking at, and it makes sense to me. You know, I'm seeing lots of nods that it would seem to make sense
Yeah.
to you guys too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, especially if it's kind of it's a trend and you're staying on the trend or ahead of the trend.
we're a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
You know, I know the Salem Library has some of their collection. It's usually, you know, people start with teens. And then sometimes poetry
Hmm.
is changed over there, but you know, we started with teens too. You know, and it made sense for how they can find things, and then circulation goes up.
I'm in favor of it. I used to page at Reads,
Mhm.
and so like I knew where the space books were, and I knew where the sports books were, but it was all done by a number. And it's like the 599s and the 926s, and it was like, but that doesn't mean anything to a 10-year-old. It's
No,
like
it
over
doesn't.
there are the sports, and over there, and
Right.
so
Right.
yeah,
Right. If it's sports, it's sports.
yeah,
And we don't need to translate it to a number, then bring it back to
Yeah.
sports.
Right.
So it does make a lot of sense. So, yeah. So that's something we're working on. I don't know if Jen wants to give the report about the Friends, but they met all the readers met their goal for some reading, so that's kind of exciting. That's totally exciting. It's not kind of exciting. That's everything I had underlined, but if you have any other questions about the report,
Comments. I just made some notes, like it was nice cooperation with Public Works on the recycling.
that seems to be working out well.
great.
I would say thank you for your quick response on the trees, and then also thank you to the church for taking care of those quickly, so.
Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, move on to the treasurer's report. Right, I am looking at the balance sheet for ending August 31st. I didn't think about that. Seems so long ago. The fines account started with $6,959.33. And we ended with $6,192.56. And then for special, we started with $50,524.73. And we ended the month with $49,677.55. Questions, comments? I don't think there's anything else I needed to talk about. I did move that money. Our trust fund money came in. We requested it. It came in. It's been deposited. You'll see it next month. I think that's it. Any other thoughts?
Thank you.
Questions? Okay. That's done. We have minutes. We have 3. We have 2 from Jen and 1 from Deb.
Yeah, and we have public and
non-public, right.
I did hand out the non-public. Just keep in mind, if you have any comments or changes, we do need to discuss in non-public because they were sealed minutes.
All right, so let's look at the non-public for August 15th. Oh, did I say non-public? I mean public.
Yep.
Public minutes for August 15th.
So Janet did point out to me that on page 2, under strategic plan, C, when Deb made the motion to hire Deb Hoadley, I did not put the the amount in there, and I did check the video, and Deb did say $3,000, so I have added in that amount onto that motion there.
Okay.
Anybody else have any changes or corrections?
No, I didn't have any other than that. So I vote to accept August 15th's minutes with that one change.
Second.
All those in favor? 500. Right. We're gonna do the sealed, or do you want to wait?
Yep, you can do the seals as long as there's no discussion on it.
Okay.
Does anybody have, are you reading through it now?
I'm good. Comments, questions? If we do, we're gonna talk about it in non-public.
I think they look good.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the non-public minutes for 8:15.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Do you need this back?
I'll take them back at the end so we can
Okay.
shred them.
Minutes for 8:21. They're public minutes. I didn't have any issues.
No, they looked good.
All right. I make a motion to accept the minutes for 8:21.
Second.
All those in favor?
Karen, you can't vote on that. You have to abstain, right? Is that the one you
Oh,
were
I was
not there?
there for,
Yeah.
so I abstain.
Okay. So 401? No, 410. No, 401. I said it right the first time. All right. And then Deb sent out minutes to the new,
Do you want to do the non-public for the 21st?
Oh.
First. So that's also sealed.
oh, I didn't see that. Sorry.
Looks good.
All right. I make a motion to accept the minutes or the non-public minutes from 8:21.
I'll second.
And all those in favor? Karen?
No.
Was I here?
Nope.
You were not.
Not that one.
So confused.
So those against? Those abstain?
Yes.
4-0. 410.
We're so formal.
Or no, 4-0.
Well,
And
it
step.
needs to be.
Okay.
Right.
And then Deb sent out minutes. This was our new orientation, our new trustee orientation that we had on September 5th.
I thought those looked good.
That was good to me.
Okay, so I vote to accept the minutes from September 5th.
Second. Was that
Okay.
a motion? Second.
Yep. And, okay, all those in favor? It's essentially, it's us three. Those opposed? Abstain? Okay. All right. Good, minutes are done. Okay, committee updates. Building Exploratory Committee? No. Friends of the Library? Jen, you're up.
Okay, so they have not met, but they did have the book sale and another successful one. They made $1,827.70. Janet and I helped with setup, and if anybody else helped out during the sale, thank you very much. And they will be meeting next week after their summer hiatus. The first meeting is next Monday at 7 o'clock.
Excellent. The Development Fund,
It's Deb's, and I don't think they've met, right?
okay. Town Center Committee,
We are meeting not this Friday, but the following Friday.
okay. Okay, Personnel Committee, no, and Finance Committee, we already talked about it. So the September's action items. So where does it start? I have an action item for Yvette and staff to look at the walls for the elevator. For all of us to send dates to Scott, to Yvette, to schedule Scott. Actually, that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else?
And for those dates, are we really just looking at the next 1 to 2 weeks so that it doesn't go too much further on the calendar for connected? That's the roof. Is that the
think so.
the
Yeah.
roof?
So within the next 2 weeks?
Like send
next
this
month?
week for the next 2 weeks? Like send. Sorry, am I
Something
making
that
it more
like,
confusing
whatever
than I
the- whatever the
need to?
availability is
So like
next 2
in the
weeks.
month of September? Let's do it that way.
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, so
Yes.
availability within the month of September.
I jotted down because I don't mind, and you don't have to include this on action items necessarily, but I can just do a quick search if there's any print alternatives that seem like visible. It probably makes more sense to reach out, I think, to other libraries, but it might just be something that can be discoverable online for alternate service.
I don't know, because it goes through the catalog.
Oh,
So there's
Oh.
some firewalls.
There's
So
a lot
I
of-
would wanna, I'd wanna check on, let me check on.
yeah, yeah, no
I
problem.
mean, I have a, technically I have a year, but I can
Yeah.
start set.
Yeah, you do.
And it's not right, and
Yeah.
it's not, yeah, urgent.
So. I think that's it. Ready to schedule. Check on money, I already did that.
I guess one would be Yvette will get back to Deb Hoadley
Mhm.
on staff,
On staff,
staff members.
Yes, and I'm following up with the commissioning agent.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And I had one thing to bring up if you're done with the
I am. So now, well, let me do the upcoming events. Upcoming events, we have Friends of the Merrimack Public Library are going to meet on September 25th at 7 o'clock
at the library.
at the library.
Yes, all right.
Okay. The Merrimack Public Library Board of Trustees, our monthly meeting is on October 17th at 7 o'clock in the Merrimack Memorial Room. And the Merrimack Public Library Development Fund Committee will meet on November 13th at 5 o'clock in the Lowell Room, or potentially virtually. Now we have comments from the press, public, and board members.
Okay. So I had one thing that I just kind of discovered today online, and I sent to Yvette to ask her if she'd heard of it yet. Was a grant program through the Department of Energy that is kind of trickled down to the state level, and then different counties and municipalities are. It was based on certain criteria, the size of towns, but Merrimack is one of them that is was listed as being eligible to apply for this grant. So it was about implementing basically energy savings, like everything we're trying to do at the library. So I just asked Yvette, had she heard, has the town applied for that or not? And it wasn't something she's heard of. So I just wanted to ask the board, are you okay with me reaching out to Paul and just asking about that to see maybe it's something they've already got in the works. The deadline is like January to apply for, and it was like, it looked like about $75,000 for the town, which, isn't a ton, but, if we could get a portion of that to put towards the HVAC, that would be excellent. So like I said, I don't know, maybe they've already applied, maybe it's already earmarked for something, but just to kind of talk to Paul and just say, hey, is this something already on your radar? And if not, can the library get in on this? So, okay.
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I'll give you guys an update. Just send him a message.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Okay, so we need to go into a non-public session per New Hampshire RSA 91-A:32C. We need to do a roll call. So,
I will second.
oh, thank you. So we need to do a roll call. Molly?
Yes.
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 And I say yes. So turn off your mics.
Sure. What time is it?